I'm Eric Novak. Guess what? I've got another SUV review to do, and that's partly because that's what consumers are asking for and automakers are producing. However, while the trend has typically in the last couple of years been towards launching more smaller, compact, urban SUVs and crossovers, it needs to be said that in North America especially, there still is an appetite for the large, full-size SUV, which a few automakers are continuing to make. The Ford Expedition is one such example, and the basic idea is, what if you had an F-150 frame and put a passenger compartment on top? Well, what you would get is the Ford Expedition. It's been around since 1997, and for 2018, Ford is launching its fourth generation Expedition. It's made some changes consistent like the F-150 has with its latest generation, in that it's now being contained in an aluminum body on top of the metal frame, and because of that, it's dropped 300 pounds from its overall weight. Now, this is not typically the type of vehicle I would review, given that it's on the larger and maybe less fuel efficient side, but given the fact that it is lighter and it's being claimed as the most fuel efficient Expedition ever, I thought I'd give it a try, and it's the feature of my latest review. So when we're talking about the exterior of the 2018 Expedition, what is the most obvious thing? Well, it's massive. This, dimensionally and proportion-wise, is a very, very big vehicle. I mean, I know it's generally square, rigid, and boxy in its overall shape. It's pretty distinctive in that aspect as well. For the 2018, the next generation, they put more of an aggressive type of grille on the front, but really, this is all about proportions. Lengthwise, on the wheelbase, it's 210 inches. On the regular wheelbase, but the extended max that I have here, it's 222 inches long. That's 18 and a half feet. If I had a Ford Fiesta here, I'd put it nose to nose and there'd still be 5 feet to spare. I mean, this is actually just slightly smaller in length than an F-150 with the large box. I mean, this thing is massive. And as for height, we're looking at about 6 feet 4 inches in overall height, which is, I guess, kind of the same, that'd be about the same height as, say, Norman Powell, one of the forwards for the Toronto Raptors. So this thing is like NBA size in height. It's massive in length. There is nothing about this vehicle that's small. It definitely stands out in that regard. So as the Expedition is a three-row vehicle, one of the important considerations is how easy or hard is it to get into that third row. So if you open up the second row doors, you'll get the step up, which is certainly helpful if you're small. You need that little extra assistance to get up. If you have just the bench, the 8-row configuration, the 8-seat configuration, sorry, it's a simple lever on the shoulder that pushes the second row seat up, and it gives you pretty easy access in. With the platinum trim, though, it's 2 captain's chairs, so all I have to do is step in and walk in between. And one of the other beauties is, with this Expedition having an independent rear suspension, my feet are pretty low to the floor. That's not something you can say in the Tahoe, for example, where you'd be having that very uncomfortable knees in your chest kind of situation. So even for adults, sitting in the third row is pretty good. The interior of the 2018 Expedition shares a lot of commonalities with its F-150 cousin in terms of both layout and appointments. A rotary gear selector replaces a traditional gear shift, with your drive mode selector being repositioned as well. The overall layout of the center stack is functional, with tactile button controls dominant and a Sync 3 equipped 8-inch touchscreen providing good sight lines and accessibility for the driver. A basic sync system is standard on the base XLT trim. Driver information displays combine traditional readouts as well as a digital information screen, while steering wheel mounted controls are appropriately placed and easy to work with. Leather seating is standard on limited and platinum trims, while cloth seating is found on the entry-level XLT. Seats are well bolstered, and my Platinum Max trim seats featured 10-way adjustability, as well as being both heated and cooled. My tester also included a dual headrest entertainment system with second-row controls and tri-zone climate control. As it is a family hauler, you'll find 15 cup holders, USB charge ports in every row, and even available Wi-Fi hotspot connectivity for up to 10 devices. With its enormous size, my Expedition Max Tester offered 36 cubic feet of cargo space behind the third row, but with a press of a button I can fold down the third row to increase cargo space to 73 cubic feet, and with the press of another button I can put both the second and third row down, resulting in 121.5 cubic feet of space, which, as I discovered, is big enough to take a nap in if you so choose to do so. It's also big enough inside with 172 cubic feet of passenger volume to seat all 6 members of my family quite easily and comfortably. Conventional wisdom used to be that for a vehicle this size, it's a V8, it's automatic, but Ford has said, no, that's not the case. The Expedition for 2018 is powered by their 3.5-liter V6 EcoBoost engine, and depending upon the trim level, you'll either get 375 horsepower out of it on lower trims, but when on the titanium paired up with this 10-speed automatic, you're getting 400 horsepower. And there's certainly enough horsepower and torque. You still have over 9,000 pounds of towing capacity, which obviously for a vehicle like this is very important. I mean, this really is going to be a towing kind of SUV. So it might lead to think that if you're buying a vehicle such as this, you're probably not too concerned about fuel economy, but it's still something I covered, and it's worth discussing. This 2018 Expedition has 2 fuel economy ratings depending upon whether you have the long or short wheelbase. The short wheelbase has a combined fuel economy of 11.8 liters per 100 kilometers. That works out to 20 US miles per gallon. If you have the long wheelbase like I do driving this week, that's 12.4 liters per 100 kilometers or 19 US miles per gallon. I've pretty much been hitting that on the nail for the most part this week. I've probably done a little bit more highway driving than the combined ratio would normally account for, but it's also a little bit colder than ideal situations. But overall, I'm on the money. Comparing this to the previous generation Expedition, the previous Expedition was getting 13.1 liters per 100 kilometers, about 18 US miles per gallon. Now, how does that compare to the competition? Well, if you take a look at the Chevy Tahoe, which is probably the most little direct competitor, that one has 13.8 liters per 100 kilometers combined, or 17 US miles per gallon. If you look at, say, the Nissan Armada, you're looking at 14.7 liters per 100 kilometers combined, or 16 US miles per gallon. And the Toyota Sequoia is 15.7 liters per 100 kilometers combined, or 15 US miles per gallon. Now, those are also all V8s, and everything in the comparison I'm giving you is for in 2-wheel drive. It's not 4-wheel drive, so this is the more optimal fuel efficiency rating. So you can see that even though this still is a larger vehicle, this 2018 Expedition is better than before and really better than most of its competition. So in summary, after spending my week with this 2018 Ford Expedition, despite me having a usual aversion to vehicles of this size, did I enjoy it? Well, yeah, I'll admit, it's a good vehicle and a fun ride. There's a lot going for it for family-wise in terms of lots of interior space. I love the fact that there's so many USB chargers and cup holders, the things that families need. And in terms of a drive, it is a nice ride. It's stable. I enjoy the horsepower and the overall fit and finish of being in this vehicle. The question, of course, though, is whether or not a vehicle of this size is really necessary. And that's really a subjective question. If you're someone who is a larger family and you have a RV or a trailer or a heavy boat, well, I could see if you need the amount of towing capacity of a vehicle this size, yeah, sure, you can make a case for it. I would think, though, that for most families, something this size probably isn't really necessary. If you're willing to spend the kind of money that this the top-end Max Expedition has here, in Canadian funds we're talking $90,000, well, if you're willing to go that much and you want better fuel economy but space, you could consider something like a Volvo XC90 T8 with a plug-in hybrid, a Highlander hybrid, or heck, I know you don't want to talk about minivans, but the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid is certainly less money than this and way better fuel economy. So it really is, it's a matter of choice. But that being said, if this is the category that you are looking for, if it is necessary, of the options out there, well, this Expedition certainly is one of the better ones. Well, that's it for this review. I'm Eric Novak. Thanks for watching. There's plenty of ways for you to keep connected with me, so check out some of my social media links, suggested videos, and I'd really love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel.